WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Germany, often tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. And this Aberlour A'bunadh Alba has a very interesting story for me because I've been waiting for this for 4 years now. What do you mean? Well, batch number 1 actually went to America, did not go to Europe, which I think is very, very interesting. So it first hit the press in December of 2018, batch number 1, and I was like, wait a second, we want this, and I was like, no, not yet. And so the batch number 1 had 57.1% ABV. So batch number 2 also went to America, which I think is unfair, but that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. And that was with 58.7% ABV. And batch number 3 went to Australia, with 60.4%. And batch number 5 actually made it to Europe. No, batch number, wait, what did I say here? Batch number 3 went to Australia, batch number 4 went to Canada and the US with 60.9, and batch number 5 finally made it here over to Europe. And we have a 62.7% ABV, Whiskybase number 204971, and we're talking about a price somewhere between, I have prices between 60 and 90 euros. That's not right. I have prices go from 69 to 89 euros, which I think is just unbelievable. All right, so for the exact same product. Now, batch number 6 went to the States, 62%, that was July 2022. And we finally have also a new batch, which just hit the shores, batch number 7 in Europe with 58.9%. And it just hit the beginning of March, and it's going to be around 79 euros there. All right, so what I have is batch number 5. So, now this is unique. The only time I've ever had Aberlour fully matured in a bourbon cask was at the distillery itself. What they do is what they did, I'm not sure. At the moment, they're in the middle of a construction process. If you are there in the summer of 2023 or even 2024, please call up, make sure. Go visit the website that they are open for visitors and so on. I hope they are. My tour there was fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was in the spring of 2017 where I was there. I wanted to be at Balvenie. They canceled short term, but instead I was able to go to Aberlour, which is nice. Now, they have been putting out Aberlour A'bunadh, which is their cask strength sherry edition now for, I don't know, 12 years plus. I can take a look fairly easy here. 1 second. So let's just get rid of the word Alba here and see where they started with batch number 1. So they started in 1998. So it's been 25 years. All right. So 1999 was batch 6. So they even started before that. Wow. So they've been doing this for quite some time. And my personal opinion was everything up to batch about 38 was wonderful. That was 2011, 2012. And the 40s and 50s were like hits and misses. And then the 60s were like, I'm not really sure. Now we're at batch number 74. I do remember, let's see here, batch number 62. Well, no, 65 was really good. 68 was, according to Whiskybase, also very nice. What else do we have here? 71 was not. So there's a lot of batch variations going on here. From an 82 to an 89. There's actually one here with a 91. Where was that here? And there's been some very nice batches in the past where we just can say thank you, Aberlour, for what you've done there. Very nice things. And I think this idea of Aberlour A'bunadh is fantastic. Now imagine we would have, I'm just going to name some heavy hitters for me, some no age statement, yes this is, of some no age statement cask strength sherry. So Glengoyne has one. Imagine they'd bring out, instead of the Glengoyne cask strength, they would bring out a Glengoyne Alba cask strength. Tamdhu has one. Imagine they brought out a cask strength. Glendronach has one. Imagine they brought out an Alba cask strength. For me, Glenfarclas 105 is the batch and is sherry. Imagine they brought out a only bourbon matured. I would love that. That would be so fantastic, I think. Because otherwise, I actually have to go over here and go buy some single barrel to get cask strength, non-chilled filtered, natural color. This is Glencadam. This is basically 10 years of age. This is only 59.8% ABV, 62.7. So we have a lot more here. This was 70 some euros. This is then 80 some euros. Now Glencadam and Aberlour are not the same, but I think this experiment is at least worthy to be repeated here in my English video, because also in the German video, it was like, oh, different but nice. And that's what we want, all right? So we want different but nice. Look at the colors. I mean, this is like pale straw. This is what we like. It doesn't have to be dark sherry. It doesn't have to be Coca-Cola color. It doesn't have to have all that sherry darkness or recharred cask to put that blackness in there. Give us light whiskey, matured in a bourbon cask, so we can actually taste the distillate that we're actually wanting. Yeah, if you have, I'm just going to use Aberlour, Linkwood, and Glencadam. You put them in a sherry cask for finish for 3 years, they're basically going to taste the same. But if you mature them in the bourbon barrels and for the same amount of time, and you can actually see the differences in the distillate, that's what we want. That's what we freaks like, and give it to us in cask strength. Now, there's going to be a little caveat with that. Give it to us in cask strength, because I don't like this in cask strength. But I do like this if I water it down. People, please play with your whiskeys and try to at least sacrifice 1 glass per bottle and use a little bit of water and see if it gets better or worse. God created this whiskey, I'm going to use the word God here, in cask strength, but man sometimes decides that, hey, 53% is much better than 63%. And I know by bourbon sometimes it's like, no, Jason, you're wrong. But believe me when I say this Aberlour A'bunadh really, really shines. You put some water in it, and you water this down, and you make it into a palatable, enjoyable, excellent experience. Otherwise, it's like, well, And if you don't believe me, go watch Ralphie. He'll be putting his teaspoons of water into his whiskey for a reason. All right? And there's a reason for that. For example, let's taste this. Number one, 62.7% hot. Number two, there's some casks in here. These are not first fill bourbon casks. These are second fill, maybe even third fill bourbon casks. There's a couple casks in this batch here that are a little bit with the wood, not as fresh as they should be. There's a little bit of bitterness, a little bit of a type of basement type of dampness going on here, which is not great. And it leaves an aftertaste. There's a wonderful maltiness and a sugariness that's in here, but it's not what it should be. Now, if I take this whiskey down a little bit, I'm going to take it down to about 53% and do exactly the same thing. Take a little sip and tell you what I experience. The entire heat's gone. This is creamy. Whiskies at 53.5%, 107, have the best viscosity in the world. All right, above that, it actually reduces the viscosity. Below it, it reduces the viscosity as well. On average, 53.5%, the best viscosity, the best creaminess, the best thickness on the tongue you can imagine. That's what I get here. I have the maltiness. I have a barrel wood moment without it being any type of dampness or anything that distracts. I have a tiny little bit of a earthiness going on here. I think the Aberlour distillate itself is absolutely fantastic. Now, it works very well with sherry, but I think it works well without as well. Um, at the distillery, they have been showcasing that now for, I'm going to say, decades. And you can only at the distillery buy the bottle of the, at least as far as I am aware, you could buy a bottle of this cask strength bourbon matured and the cask strength sherry matured. It's like, well, I can buy anyway the sherry matured. I'm going to go buy the bourbon matured. And that was so nice. It says here on the palate we should have here on the nose, is sweet with apples and pears, notes of honey and vanilla. The taste is citrusy. Get rid of that with the water, by the way. With notes of baked apples, yes, and lots of honey, and I get lots of almonds, and I get the honey as well. And we have a smooth and sweet finish, and the deed is in the taste. So the proof is in the pudding. This is what we want. I really like that. I'm going to give this a C to C plus with water, C plus, and the value for money is a solid C. Now, why is it a solid C for 74, 79 euros? Because nowhere else I'm going to get a bottle of cask strength, bourbon matured, directly from the bottler itself, the distillery, at all. I have to go to the distillery otherwise. And I beg, I plead, I highly recommend that Glendronach, that Tamdhu, that Glengoyne, all these places, Glenfarclas, that are famous for their sherry matured whiskeys and cask strength no age statement, put out a no age statement Alba edition. And if it's only once as a limited edition so I can try it, I would be so pleased. I think this is fantastic that we don't have to always have that sherry blanket over everything, but we can really get back to the basics here and really get to know that spirit the way the distiller intended. So if I go to the website here, very briefly from Aberlour.com, it says here the meaning, Aberlour means the original Gaelic. Aberlour A'bunadh Alba is made in homage to Aberlour's founder, James Fleming. A'bunadh Alba is matured in ex-American oak, resulting in an aroma of ripe red apples, along with honey, vanilla, and a hint of cinnamon. Aberlour A'bunadh Alba is bottled at cask strength, resulting in a sweet whiskey with a creamy texture. So the nose is sweet with a pronounced aroma of ripe red apples, along with honey, vanilla, and a hint of cinnamon. The palate is sweet with a creamy, oily texture as the whiskey opens up. Elements of citrus, zest, cinnamon, and dried apples emerge, and the finish should be a long sweet with a pronounced pepperiness. That's the alcohol, but if you put water in there, you get rid of it. Thank you, Aberlour, for this. Now, the Glencadam is also very special in its own right. But you really do recognize the difference in distillery character. You will not recognize this, I will not be able to recognize this through the veil of sherry. But through the magic of bourbon casks, you really can get it. All right, WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Germany, giving this a solid C and even a C plus in taste with water. And value for money C. I know in the States you've had so many reviews about this, but over here in Europe, we've only had this now for a year or two. And just the new batch came out, so this should be in a couple people's mouth, and I'm really looking forward to the batch number 7 as well. Aberlour, keep up the good work. Thank you very much for watching, liking, subscribing, telling others, and sharing. All the best. See you soon. WhiskyJason. Bye-bye.